That was cute. Piece of fucking shit. There we go. Okay, good. Sorry, guys. Had kind of a problem. Streamlabs just stopping. Don't know why. Don't know why. Don't know why. And, yep. Okay, so now we go to...
Greetings, mortal.
Yeah, we have these things we gotta do here. That guy
Order shall be restored.
To the mirror, I guess. We'll go back to Sinfall. And we'll take the mirror, so...
What do
I
you
didn't
see?
like this expansion that much in terms of the layout. The layout was kind of annoying. It
May
was a
the
lot of
purpose
travel. A
guide
lot of this is travel. It's weird. Yeah. No, that's not true. It's there's a lot of it's combat. Yeah, it's good.
What could quite easily have led to a story of epic proportions involving a man-eating tiger running wild across the streets of East London ended surprisingly quickly. So, how did this happen? Well, earlier that morning, a ship called the Germany docked close to Hambro Wharf, which was situated a short distance to the west of the Tower of London. On board that ship was an unusual cargo of wild animals, destined for an exotic pet shop at 180 Ratcliffe Highway, owned by well-known collector and supplier of exotic animals, Charles Jamrach. At the time, Jamrach's Wild Beast Emporium was the largest of its kind in the world. When a wagon carrying the cargo arrived at the shop's warehouse on Bett Street at around 12:30 p.m, workmen employed by Jamrach began to unload the various cages and boxes, moving them one by one into the warehouse. The arrival of the animals had attracted a large number of curious spectators, so a police officer named Stewart was appointed to oversee the delivery. But it was when Jamrach's men attempted to manoeuvre a heavy steel cage containing a tiger that the situation took an unsuspected turn. The animal, frightened and restless, kicked out its legs, forcing the cage open. The onlookers scattered as the tiger bounded towards Ratcliffe Highway, where moments later it would attack 5-year-old John Wade. The story was popular and was reprinted many times in the weeks, months, and even decades to come. Details unreported at the time were added, and slowly descriptions of the events changed considerably. For example,
Someone has
the
stone fiend from House Primrose.
Jamrach was the hero of the
Such
story,
flagrant
striking
thievery
the
cannot
tiger
go
across the legs
unpunished.
and freeing John Wade
Find
from
the
certain
fiend
death.
and whomever is
In another version of the
responsible.
story, a man named Richard Driscoll, an employee of Jamrach, claimed to be the man who saved John Wade, earning himself the sum of £10 for his gallantry. When later giving his version of events, he said, "At first we were hopeless, the idea seized me. The only way to do this was to attack and down him with a crowbar. This I did. The boy was clear from the tiger, and placing a rope on her neck,
Keep
dragged
your
her
head
home
down.
victorious.
Don't want any
For
of
this,
these
I was always
fancy
known as
bands
Tiger
seeing us
Dick."
together.
More than 20 years later, the story was changed again. The tiger, no longer depicted as a crazed animal, walked quietly along the street. In this version, John Wade was said to be unhurt, and instead of the tiger being tied up with ropes and dragged back to the warehouse, it's said that Jamrach merely led the animal back unassisted. However, the incident would cost Charles Jamrach when legal action was brought against him by the young man's father. The experience, unsurprisingly, affected John Wade deeply. His parents said that John was unable to sleep at night due to nightmares. He had become shy, was afraid to go outside, and struggled to concentrate at school. In all, the court case cost Charles Jamrach £300, with £60 of that going to the Wade family as compensation. So what became of Jamrach's tiger? Well, 2 days
You
after
have
the attack
orders
on
for
John
me?
Wade, the tiger was sold to a Mr. Edmonds, whose travelling menagerie had stopped in West Bromwich. On the day the tiger arrived, it broke through a wooden partition separating its enclosure from that of the lions. A fight ensued between the two animals before the lion succumbed to its injuries and died. Interestingly, Richard Driscoll, the same man who claimed to have fought off the tiger on Ratcliffe Highway, portrayed himself as a hero again in this case, claiming that he was the one who separated the animals before the lion died. According to him, the deadly clash happened at Jamrach's warehouse in London, hours after the animal was recaptured, and not 2 days later, 140 miles away in West Bromwich. It's not known if Richard Driscoll was ever confronted about his tall tales. The memory of the Ratcliffe Highway incident lives on in the form of a sculpture. The 7-foot statue, a somewhat unthreatening depiction of the confrontation between John Wade and the tiger, now stands at the north entrance to London's Tobacco Dock.
What do you need? I am obligated to obey.
The setting for this next tale is East Oklahoma. The year is 1901. Bessie Brown, a young Christian woman from the town of Cameron, was once described as one of the most beautiful girls in Oklahoma. She was popular, had a natural charm, and she came from a, quote, rich family of high social standing. Since 1899, Bessie had been engaged to John Allen, a man she adored and described as the love of her life. In January of 1901, Bessie Brown and John Allen were finally married. The happy couple immediately moved into a rented 5-room cottage, which Bessie had paid for, with her own money she would add, and furnished it with pride. They were as happy as any young couple, said a 1901 letter from Wichita, Kansas, to the Chicago Inter-Ocean newspaper. The wedding wasn't a grand affair as you might expect from a girl with such rich parents. It was, however, quite extraordinary in its own way. It took place in January of 1901, in a graveyard at midnight. The same graveyard in which Bessie's husband-to-be had been buried 2 years earlier. You see, back in December of 1899, shortly after their engagement, John Allen was suddenly killed in a railroad accident.
Oh.
The loss of her fiancé sent Bessie into an almost catatonic state. Her parents, naturally worried, tried to console their daughter, but she insisted on being alone. They sent for a doctor on several occasions. They were told that Bessie was of sound mind, but her health was declining rapidly due to heartbreak and constant anxiety. For almost 2 years Bessie grieved, until December of 1900, when she suddenly withdrew from her grief and became exceedingly happy. So much so that her parents thought that she was, quote, under the influence of some drug. She explained to her parents that she had seen the ghost of John Allen, and that she had promised to marry him in death. She said that she had promised him this when they were engaged, and now, as he had shown himself to her, she intended to keep that promise. Speaking to a Wichita newspaper, her father said, "Mrs. Brown and I feared the poor girl had lost her mind, so we went to Dallas for a specialist to make another examination. He pronounced her mental condition perfectly normal, and said that she was not under the influence of any drug." Over time, Bessie, who was said to speak reasonably about the subject, convinced her parents that she was not insane, telling them that she understood that she must seem so to them, that she was going to marry her dead fiancé. When the family called on the minister and asked him to perform the ceremony, he tried to dissuade Bessie, telling her that it was unchristian to want to marry a mere apparition, but Betty insisted. So, one night in January of 1901, just before the stroke of midnight, the minister went with Bessie Brown to the cemetery where John Allen had been buried 2 years ago. There, under the stars of the midnight sky, they were married. Bessie's father, even after the ceremony had taken place, said that he and his wife were doing all they could to help her forget about the ghost of John Allen, but admitted that they were likely to fail. Most of the people of Cameron, Oklahoma apparently had a different view. The same Kansas newspaper finished their article with the following. The town people are much excited over the matter. She can be seen sitting in the back porch conversing with an invisible companion, and often walks along the street talking aloud to a person who no one else can see. They all know Miss Brown to be a Christian woman, and one who would not deceive anyone for the world. On the approach to Denver's International Airport stands an impressive neon blue fiberglass sculpture of a Mustang. Standing at 32 feet and weighing 9,000 pounds, the formidable statue's aggressive stance and eerie red neon eyes reflects a troubled, dark past. The artwork was first commissioned in 1992, and the artist, the well-known and celebrated Luis Jimenez from New Mexico, was paid a $165,000 advance for the work. However, due to the loss of sight in one eye and the stress of an ongoing divorce suit, Jimenez failed to finish the work on time. More than a decade later, in 2003, Denver International Airport sued Jimenez for the return of his advance. Jimenez countersued on the grounds that the client's brief was unclear and had changed over time. The argument was settled in mediation in 2004, when it was agreed that Jimenez would meet new deadlines or give the airport a new sculpture. In 2006, while working on the sculpture at his New Mexico studio, the now 65-year-old Jimenez was struck and pinned down by the freshly painted head of the Mustang after it came loose from its hoist. A jagged section of fiberglass had severed Jimenez's femoral artery. As he was being taken to the hospital, he called his brother David, who lived in Los Angeles, telling him, "I'm not going to make it." Shortly after this, Luis Jimenez passed away. Plans for the sculpture's unveiling were put on hold for the foreseeable future, but over the next couple of years, with the help of Jimenez's family, employees, and race car painters Camilo Nunez and Richard Lovato, it was completed. The Mustang was then shipped to California in 3 pieces to be assembled, then to Denver, where it was finally unveiled on February the 11th, 2008.
You will meet your
Because of the
true
beast's
death.
demonic appearance and the nature of its story, it has been nicknamed the Devil Horse and Satan's Steed, but more famously, Lucifer. It has been condemned by many, with some believing that the horse is cursed due to its involvement in its creator's death, but equally revered by others because of what it represents, the wild spirit of the old American West. Another argument considered at the time was that flying for the sun is a frightening prospect at the best of times. Some of its critics said that passengers being made to face a blue neon red-eyed horse, which evoked images of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, on the approach to an airport was in bad taste. Pro-Mustang groups counter-argued by saying that the red glowing eyes were not meant to strike fear into people. They were simply a tribute to the creator's late father, who once owned a neon sign making shop in El Paso, Texas, where Luis himself worked as a young man.
You will
Also, the
meet
argument
your
was set that
true
the
death.
as they were already demonic-looking sculptures that were likely to cause anxiety featured inside the airport itself. The 2 gargoyles by artist Terry Allen displayed in 2016. In Denver, public art typically remains in place for 5 years before it can be considered for removal. The Blue Mustang's 5-year period came to an end on February the 11th, 2013, when some had hoped it would be taken down. For this to happen though, the Denver Commission for Cultural Affairs would have to receive extreme adversity from the public over an extended period of time. But despite its many detractors, this did not happen. Miss Rachel Holton, a Denver real estate broker, was one of the most active anti-Mustang protesters and the founder of the now defunct BuyBuyBlueMustang.com. She admitted in 2009, only a year after the unveiling of the statue, that she had changed her stance
You're
on the matter.
talking to me?
She explained to the New York Times why she no longer wanted the artwork dismantled. In the process of being personally attacked through email, and through learning more about the piece, I've shifted gears from "I don't think it's appropriate" to "let's try and understand it." Denver International Airport, even before the arrival of the Blue Mustang, has been shrouded in mystery and a focus for conspiracy theorists. From theories about an underground concentration camp, to a wall mural by artist Leon Panguma, which is said by some to depict the future intentions of a new world order. These conspiracy theories began when
Yeah,
the
that
original
thing-
budget for the airport was exceeded greatly, and the final figure stood
Has
at
the
around
Countess
$4.5
really
million.
sent a mortal to do
This,
her
coupled
bidding?
with the fact that the construction time went over by 16 months, made some believe that there was much more to the airport than met the eye. Rumours of a complex maze of tunnels underneath the airport began stories of an emergency bunker for the world's elite and the FEMA concentration camp. The airport's dedication stone includes the stonemason sign and the words New World Airport.
My death
This led some
will
to
not
believe that this
delay
was a reference
our
to the New World Order.
plans.
But the airport's museum offers an explanation to these theories. The plaques on the museum's walls say that the New World Airport Commission doesn't actually exist, and the Freemasons marker refers to the fact that the Freemasons are a prominent organisation who helped fund the airport's opening celebrations.
You will meet your true death.
So regardless of the clear split in opinion over the years, the Blue Mustang, the Devil Horse, Satan's Steed, Lucifer, call it what you will, still stands today, and probably will for years to come.
That one was good.
Close to the banks of the
Forgot all
Mississippi
about that.
River lies the city of St. Genevieve. It was here in August of 1877 that a farmer by the name of Jacob Erst and a group of men reported seeing an unimaginably large creature on the banks of the Mississippi. The story, which first appeared in the St. Louis newspaper Globe Democrat the following month, was later reprinted in many papers across North America and Europe in the weeks to come. Jacob Erst, a farmer who lived 10 miles north of St. Genevieve, first saw the creature as he rode along the river's bank. Overcome by fear and excitement, he galloped to a friend's house, where he managed to persuade the man and his 2 sons to accompany him back to the site. Jacob Erst's description, as it appears in print,
We
is as
will
follows.
break you like
The monster
all
lay in the
the
sand
rest.
sunning itself, evidently oblivious to all surroundings. A hasty survey was taken by the party, and it was agreed that it was at least 70 feet in length.
70 feet.
The head, as described originally by Egan, was shaped much like that of a dog, but Mr. Erst maintains that it bore greater resemblance to that of a sea lion, though several times larger. The pelican-shaped bill was also observable, and this was estimated to be 5 feet in length, being very sharp and pointed, and having the appearance
One of the
an
problems
immense
with these
fork.
old, like, weird, like, creepy tales and stuff, not haunted house stuff or whatever, I'm talking about, like, creepy tales that are, like kind of, like, you know, spine-tingling, is, a bunch of the stuff, the hicks that reported, they don't have, you can tell, they don't have the creativity to come up with the idea. They probably saw something like this, because why would they dream it up, why would they say it, it's...
or tusk for the use in offensive warfare. The body was the size of a flour barrel, and covered with brown, shiny scales as large as a human
You
hand.
do not belong
Along the
here.
neck was also observed